All right, welcome back to the December 3rd, 2019 Select Board meeting. Our next item on the agenda are announcements, so I have quite a few because it's a busy time of year, which is great. I would like to take this opportunity first to thank the Department of Public Works for an outstanding job the past 2 days in keeping our roads cleared and sanded. These two back-to-back storms hitting mostly at night required 2 all-nighters for this crew, so thank you so much to our DPW and all the workers out there that kept our roads clear. Grafton celebrates the holidays is this Sunday. The Craft and Vendor Fair will take place starting at 10 a.m. in the Municipal Center Gym. There will be many vendors from around Massachusetts. Holiday events and activities will be at noon and conclude at 4 p.m. when caroling and music will begin on the Grafton Common. Santa is expected to arrive around 4:30 p.m. with the lighting of the town Christmas tree. Shop Grafton is in full swing. Remember to pick up your Shop Grafton card at participating businesses or at Town Hall. Once the card is completed, you can enter to win a Nintendo Switch, an Apple Watch, or a Fitbit. There will be a community meeting on December 11th at 7 p.m. at the North Grafton Elementary School with the Grafton and Upton Railroad to discuss the proposed quiet zone in North Grafton at East and Waterville Streets. Representatives of the railroad will be present to discuss the proposal, including why East Street would need to be made one way to accommodate a quiet zone. Savers Bank is a toy donation drop-off spot. All donations will be going to the Grafton Food Bank. And Route 30 sewer extension work is ongoing. The detours are posted online. All businesses along Route 30 remain open during this work. Does anybody have anything else to add? All right. The next thing we have is public comments. I've gotten quite a bit of feedback about public comments, so I just want to reiterate public comments. The main purpose of public comments, of course, is for people to come and speak and provide us information or ask questions. But we are going to limit it to 5 minutes a person because it tends to get long. The main purpose is for us to figure out if the issue needs more time. And if the issue needs more time, then we put it on an agenda and we notify the public so that other people may also want to come and speak on the same topic. So we're gonna continue to do it in that way. So at this time, is there anybody here for a public comment? Come on up. And remember to state your name and address for everybody.
Sitaraman Ganesan, 28 Seaver Farm Lane, South Grafton, Massachusetts. I'm here to follow up on the issue that I brought on November the 5th, the safety issue, the basketball. Just wondering if we got any opinion from the town council on that matter.
Not officially yet. She hasn't written an official.
No, she's here. She's on site tomorrow, so we can talk to her about that then.
Yeah.
And thank you very much on that.
Yep.
The other issue that I have, I gave the, whatever I wrote, I gave a copy of that to you all. This is regarding adult use marijuana licensing bar host agreement. We care about people. Even though the town voted yes for adult use marijuana, the select board can vote no to a host agreement bar licensing. As we all know, vaping can cause death and lung issues, amongst other things. Who knows how marijuana will affect people, specifically in their brain. Mr. Edward Presby said that he wants to make money off some percentage of marijuana sales to the town of Grafton on at the 11/5 meeting. He also said that we are competing with other towns to make money. Making money benefits the town, but if people get sick, or if people go through mental issues, taxpayers of the town have to pay for the fix of these community issues. Also, if people are affected by these health issues, they can sue the town because they are making deals by host agreements with marijuana firms. I feel the town should not sign any host agreements or participate or partnership with marijuana retail stores. The town should not make money by getting a percentage of marijuana sales. If marijuana retail store make money, it is for them. If marijuana retail store face lawsuits, then they have to deal with it. We have to make sure they have proper insurance to cover the lawsuit if they face any lawsuits from the public. As you may know, there are many ways, as you may know, there are many people who live on the streets in CA, California. We do not want similar issues here. We want to think proactively to prevent future issues. I strongly recommend that we ask the town council for their opinion on this matter. We are not Las Vegas. If we continue this way, we might see people start up casinos here in our town. Drugs will start to pour in, violence will increase, town will be disturbed. Please protect our town. Keep it the way it is. Please say no to marijuana licensing. Now it is in the hands of the select board. Select board cares about the people's health. I know we can make good money for the town by inviting big firms like IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, and Amazon to open corporate office here in Grafton. I'm looking for a response from the town council on this issue. Thank you. And that's my second. And my third, I'll keep it short. Number 5 meeting minutes. It does not include Mr. Prisby and Mr. Tim talk about making money for the town by making host agreements, by doing license for retail marijuana stores. That's number 5 meeting minutes. Number 12 meeting minutes is incorrect. I did not talk with Madam Chair or Mr. Tim over the phone. Mr. Tim called me once over the phone sometime in August, if I remember correct. In that conversation, he said he sent a letter to the hoop owner asking him to remove the hoop from the public way. I asked for a copy of the letter from the town administrator office. I did not get a response until October 29th. Then Mr. Tim changed his approach and sent me an email which I enclosed on 11/5 packet. That's about it. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
November 12th meeting.
I was just checking the minute meetings. Well, we can
Yeah.
look at those more closely when we get to that on the agenda. If they're incorrect. Okay. Sorry. All right, any other public comments? All right, first thing on the schedule is Saddle Shed is celebrating a 50-year anniversary. Mr. Allen, you wanna, or Doreen, you wanna set us up?
Yeah, Madam Chair. So as part of the charge of the EDC is supporting the retention of our local businesses, and as a select board rep for the EDC, we had discussed in the last meeting recognizing businesses in town and their contribution to our community. And tonight we want to recognize a business that, as you said, has been in Grafton for 50 years. And it's really become a landmark here in central Massachusetts. And so, we just wanted to bring in John Allen, who's our economic development coordinator, and have him present the award to Saddle Shed tonight.
Please.
It's, as a person who works with businesses all the time, I know how difficult it is for them to start the business and succeed in year after year. And for you to be in business for 50 years is an amazing achievement.
I don't look 50, do I?
You don't look 50.
John?
And honestly,
Can you just, the mic, just move up a little
Yeah.
bit so that we can get it?
you don't look 50. And honestly, I've been working with your daughter Leah.
Yeah, oh,
And I've had the pleasure of working with her. But I'm very happy to present this award to you.
thank you.
Doreen, could you talk a little bit about the changes that you've seen and how Saddle Shed was a destination point?
Well, I haven't been here for 50 years.
Well, you have more institutional
Probably
knowledge.
not.
I have lived in Grafton since 1978.
Right.
And so, I have seen a lot of changes in this community. And as, obviously seeing businesses come and go in our town. And like I said, Saddle Shed has always been,
We're not going.
Saddle Shed has always been a part of, the Grafton that I've known. And it's wonderful to still drive down 122 and see it there. And like I said, I mean, it's a landmark back in the time when people didn't have GPS and didn't know where Grafton was on the map, and people said, "Where do you live?" And then they'd say, "Oh, I've been to Saddle Shed."
Well,
And
that's
so,
good to know.
yeah, so
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
I personally thank you, well as a EDC member as well as a board member, for
Thank you.
contributing to our community in such a positive way.
Well, we're honored. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
yes, thank you. I visit often. My daughter rides, so
Oh, yeah.
I go there often.
I knew
Well,
you
thank
looked
you.
familiar. Oh,
Get a
gee.
picture.
Can I see the plaque?
Oh, gee, yeah, wait.
I probably should have read it.
Terrific.
We should get a picture of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. That was very nice. And in wood, too.
Can we get one more picture?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I don't wanna-
Would you guys like to say a few words? As-
One more, I'm sorry.
Well,
Thank you.
what can we say?
yeah.
I have to do a smile. We'll do all the other verbiage. Thank you.
Would you like to say anything or no?
Well, no, well,
You're welcome to say a few words if you'd like. Or,
just that the town has been very supportive, and we've been very fortunate here. And we work together, we work well together, and we're still together. So we're very lucky, and I work with the boss, so it's good. And I thank you very much.
thank you.
Hey, he referred to you as the
No,
boss.
no, he's the boss. I don't want to be the boss. Thank you.
May I take a moment and make 2 announcements?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I'd like to encourage people to participate in Shop Grafton. We're in the middle of the process. It lasts until December 24th. Please visit 10 different stores, get your card stamped. Anybody who lives, shops, or works in Grafton qualifies to win. And on January 16th, we're going to have a meeting to discuss the future development of where the old DPW site is. More details to follow, but please mark your calendars for January 16th.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks. John.
thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Then next on the schedule, we have Green Communities Annual Report.
So there's a reporting requirement from DOER for each community that is designated a green community. We have grants that we receive and goals under 5 different criteria for renewable energy, expedited permitting for renewable energy, energy reduction plan, a fuel-efficient vehicle policy, and the adoption of the stretch code, which gave us the most trouble of becoming a green community designee. So we did that, and this report needs to go to DOER for January 18 through June 9, 2019, which is due some date in December. I don't know the date, but it needs to be signed by the chair. So it listed out all the goals that we had originally put in there for all of those criteria, which we have most of them. The energy reduction plan, I think, is only at 2 or 3%. It's not as good as we wanted, but it is certainly moving in the right direction.
Great. Any questions?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say thank you to Leah Cameron for all the work that she's done to complete this annual report and for continuing to work on this program. And I do, this is part of my work in Sutton, one of my responsibilities, so it's, in my wheelhouse, obviously. And it's great that Grafton is now part of this program and that we're starting to see energy reduction. But it's also an opportunity that I want to bring up, that this grant program does not just save energy, but it also saves money to the town. And the town of Sutton is now at 36 or 37% energy reduction in the past 5 years, or 6 years now we're going into. And, that equates into savings. And so if you think about saving 36% of, let's say, the high school electric bill, that's a lot of money. So, I'd like to continue to see and support this program and, see us look at more sustainable projects that we can do to apply for Green Communities grant. So every year we're allowed to cap at $250,000, and using the most energy efficient projects first, which I know Leah has been looking at, is the way we can not only reduce energy but also save money. Based on discussions that we're going to have in the next couple weeks, I thought it was important to bring up.
Anybody have any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to sign this.
Madam Chair, I move the board vote to authorize the chair to sign the annual Green Communities Report as presented. And on behalf,
No, that's a typo.
that is a huge typo, because I was wondering why did it.
Yeah, no, it's a typo.
I
It
second the
appreciate,
motion.
but I will say this, actually, I'll let you motion and second that. I want something to add to the motion.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, yeah, it would be nice to maybe send Leah a letter of thanks for putting together, as Doreen had mentioned, putting all of this work together for us. That'd be a nice thing to do for us on behalf of us,
Yeah,
thanking our
sure.
department
Yeah.
heads.
I mean, it's a big task. It takes many, many hours to do, but also going back and, it's an annual report. So she's, and especially doing the first one, I remember it is. So I thank her, and I think that would be a nice thing to do.
Sure. We can do that.
Quick
And you have-
question.
Sure.
So this is the first time we've submitted this, or have an annual report for this?
Yes.
Versus the 6 years
Yes,
that Sutton has done it?
correct.
So maybe we can see improvement to 35 or 36%?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah, there's goals that we had to specify in all the grant rounds, and even for that designation, I just don't remember what the totals were. But it's over a 5-year period that the reductions have to occur to continue to be competitive and be inside the program.
It's 20% within 5 years.
Okay.
that Grafton needs to reach to continue its green community status.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion has passed. Sign that. Next on the agenda is Seven River Institute. We had discussed this a couple weeks ago, and I got the feeling from the board that we're not ready to make a decision, but, so I put it back on to make sure we're still thinking about it, and, see, do you want to
Yeah, I
say
mean,
anything about it?
we went out to bid once with the idea of a cell tower to solve a couple different problems, so that's the parcel that's highlighted in green. There's a parcel that jets off this to the top right that goes to Institute Road, and there was some discussion about merging the parcels. So there's a couple different decision trees, along with a lot of branches off of each that we need to think about. We can put both parcels out again with no criteria, just, needs to be compliant with zoning. Or we can designate and go back to the original green block there, providing that the bidder has access to the property for a cell tower. The fear was that the cell tower that was proposed through planning, that's a little bit to the left of this site, closer to Greeny Drive, could not be approved by planning, and then we were worried about court implications if it was to be denied, which we want to maintain that local control. So that's the problem we were trying to solve. So I guess at the end of the day, we just need to figure out, do we want to put it out? And if that question is yes, what are the parameters? Just a sale with any proposal, or something that's specific to a cell tower use, which you know, when you do the analysis of what this site could be, you know, it's zoned residential. You have problems with access off of Institute because of the slope on that parcel that's outlined in blue. So to get up there would be difficult and very expensive. I'm not so sure, we haven't done any engineering on it to see how many houses you could actually fit on those two parcels. And I'm not so sure that's the highest and best use is to build housing. But again, that's a decision, it's, you know, a matter of public policy that you would make. So whether it goes back out and we ask the question again, it would still take town meeting approval, which would be in May, to actually sell the land for any purpose that we decide to write the bid spec for.
Mr. Carlson, you have a
Thank you.
question?
Yeah, so reconsidering the RFP parameters, so you're saying it's up to us to determine if we want to open it up to any type of bid, for that matter? That anyone can make a bid on the land?
Yeah, you can, if you direct me to do, first decide you want to sell it, and then decide is the purpose wide open or is it narrow to cellular? If it's wide open, cellular can still apply, and so can someone else who just wanted to buy it to have it without access or just to keep it as open space for their own backyard.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair?
Yep.
Your recommendation?
I think we do the first thing we did for October's town meeting and go out to bid for a cell tower.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So I mean, I think we really have three things we can do. We could do nothing, right?
True.
That's an option. We can go back to town meeting with the same provisions, or we can, as you said, like expand the criteria. And I personally have an issue with going back to town meeting with the same question because I sort of feel that people have spoken on this issue. And so I would lean more toward expanding the criteria at this point.
Any other?
I'm actually open to that too. You know, so be it. If a tower company wants to purchase land, then it'll have to put its bid in like anybody else for that
Yep.
matter. I think, you know, it doesn't limit who can really apply for this, which are very few players in the cellular community. Whereas anybody, if we open it up, it's anyone's scheme. But at least it gives an opportunity to solve one problem. At the same time, we're opening up the bid, and if someone comes in with a higher bid, or whatever that criteria is that you use to evaluate, then the town decides again in May, but at least we open it up to everybody at this point. So I'm for that.
Madam Chair? So if we open it up, we're opening both the blue and the green scope.
Well, that's the second piece that you have to decide.
Right.
Of course, if you open that up, you'll have more opportunity for a subdivision proposal to come before you. If you don't, you'll limit what will come because you just can't, while it's zoned, you have no frontage.
And no access.
Yeah, if you include the blue, you would have access, although it's very steep.
Madam Chair? So if we open up access, it would be both blue and green.
If you were to have access to the green, you would need to sell the blue.
Except for those that have an easement.
I disagree with it, Tim. The reason why I say that is that if just the green parcel is what's at play here, it's up to whoever buys that if they want to purchase an easement through someone else's property. We're not contingent on having to sell the green parcel and have to sell the blue at the same time. It's
You're
anyone.
right.
It's anyone.
But in terms of value, if you want to increase value and get the most money for the parcels, you would want to offer access off a main road to be able to do a subdivision. It's completely landlocked.
I get that.
Okay, well, I mean, you just limit your value.
But it's buyer beware. If there's a landlocked piece of land that the town is selling, it's up to them to get their own easement if we don't want to sell the blue parcel. So someone can come around and say, hey, I want to buy your house with your land on whatever lot that is right there.
Greenie.
And all of a sudden, they've got access off of that.
Off of Greenie Drive?
Yes.
Potentially, yeah.
But that's a consumer problem. That's not a town problem, right? I mean, if someone buys that, that's not on us. If we just want
No, but if you were looking at it from a consumer standpoint, what's your best benefit to get the most money for that parcel? It's to have both on the market at once for something other than a cell tower, which can access through an easement road, which they already have.
And where's the easement road through?
I don't know if it'll show up on here, but there's an easement at the top left right there at
Okay,
110A.
yep, to the tip, okay, yep, all right.
Madam Chair. So if the easement, if they were to get that easement, they then could use that green parcel for something, a cell tower or a development.
Probably not a development because they don't, typically you need frontage off of a public roadway.
Okay.
You might be able to do a driveway and have a shared driveway to do whatever the bylaw calls for, if it's 3 or 4 homes off that shared drive.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So the green parcel, in this case, would be for a cell tower.
If you don't sell it with the blue, I
Yeah.
mean, maybe Peter's right, maybe someone buys a house and finds frontage somehow to connect the lot.
Right now, it would be a shared driveway or some sort of access on somebody else's property, an easement, to allow them to get in there to build that subdivision.
Correct.
And how many houses could we get in that subdivision?
No, there's
No.
no engineering, no money really spent on it, I couldn't even tell you.
And the subdivision or that parcel, would it have a different price point if it had just the access to a cell tower or for a subdivision? It would just be a parcel that we're selling for an amount?
Yes, it just as it sits on that screen, as long as it's compliant with zoning. And of course, if it's to be built on, I'm sure that, depending on how we write the bid spec, closing on that property, is either gonna be, contingent or not contingent upon approvals from planning or zoning, if any of those approvals are needed.
So for the town to benefit from that particular parcel, the best benefit would be to have both the green and the blue parcel.
Yeah, if you were to do it an open bid to have the widest net cast, you would want to include both parcels.
What's the difference between just the green and the blue, potentially?
Yeah, in terms of what the use may be, you probably wouldn't have a cell tower bidder for the blue and the green, but you would probably have a subdivision developer that would bid on the blue and the green. And the market will dictate what they actually offer, because the cost to get off of Institute to the back buildable portion of the green is going to be expensive because of the slope.
Can you tell me what the bid was for the green parcel?
Over a 30-year period, $1.9 million.
1.2 million over 30 years. It was a lease.
It's like 32,000 a year or something, right?
Yeah. roughly.
26.4.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so it came back, that's what we had asked town meeting for approval, that was not approved. So,
we're trying to solve for a couple of things, right? We have a cell tower that's existing now, and there's dispute between two parties. One of those parties made application closer to Greeny Drive, and we don't know what planning will do with that, even though the application has been withdrawn. If it's reapplied for and they deny, I only assume that they sue us. If it's approved, I assume we get sued, so I'm stuck. So this site that's further away, for them, if they could acquire it, makes sense to be further away from the parcel where the most is levied on right now. So we're trying to solve that. We're also trying to solve public safety antennas are not located on the Indian Path location now for public safety radios. They would be, and they were in the bid spec for the green parcel, if you will. And revenue is the other piece. Mm-hmm. So we are worried that if we don't do anything, and Crown Castle comes back and they say, we want to be on this parcel where the cursor is, that goes through their process, good or bad, that we kind of lose control. If the court were to say it needs to be cited there under FCC regulations, then it's too close, in our opinion, I guess that's what planning would say, if they do say that, to any residents. And that would cause more of a hardship for those people on Greeny than it would if it was on the green parcel.
Tim, thank you. What's to prevent a bidder from buying both those parcels, using the land for whatever purpose they wanted to originally buy it for, and then go back and subdivide that out, and then resell the land that they don't need?
As long as it's compliant with zoning, they'll be able to do whatever they want with it once they own it. But they'll still have all the setback requirements and everything else that goes along with the bylaw for this district.
Anybody have anything else?
Someone in the audience.
Oh, you want to come on up to the microphone and say who you are and?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Select Board. For the record, again, Victor Manugian for Crown Castle. First, I want to thank the board for looking at this topic again. Thank Tim for his work. What I did here at town meeting, which I didn't get up to speak against, was a problem which I don't agree with the way the RFP was drafted. So the one person that rallied everybody said, I think you were restrictive, and other people didn't bid, so open it up to everybody to see if you don't put a purpose on it, what people will bid. And again, I'm glad to hear you're looking at it again, whether you do one parcel or both. But what I heard from the opponent was this was, I don't know if he said discriminatory or things like that. So he wanted it open up more, not necessarily to add both parcels. Again, obviously, this board will do whatever is best for the town. And lastly, I really, really stress this every time. We want the money to go to the town. And frankly, I've been doing this 5.5 years in Massachusetts. I've never seen a town vote down a cell tower where money's coming to them. And all the other times, I don't even attend. This time I attended. So we thank you. We'd like to see the RFP come out again, and we'll jump right back in. But as the backdrop, we are going to, at some point, refile on the private parcel. We're just getting our ducks in order, regrouping different theories and things. But ideally, we don't want to do that. We want to be on town parcel, and we'd hope you reissue the RFP again so we can try to make it work a second time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, what's the private parcel, the blue piece now?
No,
No,
it's where
it's
the hand
cursor
is on
Yeah.
the mouse.
Yeah.
So the town owns the blue and the green currently.
So, I am not really on board with selling the blue parcel, because we have had a lot of, I am totally in support of affordable housing. I don't want it to sound like I am not, but this does not exactly seem like a great area for a 40B to come in. If we sell it, both parcels, and we have a developer that purchases it and decides to do a 40B, the density there, you know, they can put a lot in there. And I don't know if the neighborhoods on either side would really want a very dense,
Yeah, there's 54 houses going just north of that now that's been approved by planning that runs along Route 30.
Can you show that on the?
so,
It's further north on Institute.
you know, certainly,
Do you know which parcel?
I can't say.
Oh, yeah.
oh, are those
Can't
the
be
parcels?
further up than that. That's the state.
Yeah, it's gotta be right to the left. So what, I don't know
Oh,
what
it's
that crossroad
Alfonso.
is though at the bottom though. That doesn't make sense to me.
What?
There's a crossroad, you know, it doesn't look like Institute Road continues on.
What-
Like
What are
where
you
is Route
talking
30?
about? Route 30
up
is right
top.
here.
All right, so that
here.
subdivision's already laid out. That doesn't exist right now in the yellow.
Okay.
Where 53 is, that's gonna be where all those housing units are
Oh,
going to go.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
already in here.
Because
Yeah,
they
it's
already
already in
voted to
All right, so that's this whole.
Mr.
approve
Wilson?
it, so that's
Yeah.
it.
So, if we did a lease in the RFP versus a sale, and we opened it up to let anyone wants to bid on the lease, it would still be town-owned property. It's just, you're not gonna wanna build a housing development on leased land that you don't own. I don't think you could do that. If the town
Well,
retains
you
ownership.
could, but when we wrote it to have both options to lease or to buy, and they made their bid based on what.
I was trying to get at, get to Jen's point there about, putting some sort of restriction on the land, I mean, if someone privately wants to buy it, it's their own private property. At the end of the day, they're gonna do whatever they wanna do with it, right? And
Within zoning, yeah.
exactly. And I don't wanna, spend a lot of time about that because really that would be a zoning or ZBA issue, and then whoever would buy the green lot, to your point, they would have to procure other means of ingress egress out of that area. If that's the only ideal piece that we really need to sell or lease, and I know, the person who is, against the town meeting article, I don't know if that person speaks for everyone who voted no against the article. All I know is town meeting voted no. I have some discussion items that one or two people made about the property, but to your point, it's not fair to say that that person represented everyone at town meeting. To Doreen's point, I would like to say, let's go out, let's open it up the RFP to everybody, but let's just do the green parcel and see where it goes. If no one bids on it, no one bids on it.
Madam Chair, I would agree with you and Peter also. I think that opening up the green parcel to more criteria, but also restricting it, not having the blue with it, it's, I think that's a comparable solution. It offers, a little bit more as far as the provisions, but there's also limits to what you can do with the property without the blue.
Any other comments, discussion?
I think someone in the audience,
Oh.
Colleen?
Colleen? Just state your name and address, please.
Colleen Roy, Elmwood Street. I'm just curious, is there any way we could gift that to the cemetery in trade for the Hudson Ave property that the cemetery has that was vetted for good affordable housing right there? Like a trade, maybe? The cemetery didn't want to give it up because they didn't have another location, but could a cemetery go there, possibly?
I'm not sure, but I know that part of the reason why the Hudson parcel is great for a cemetery is because of the soil. And if there's a lot of slope, if there's a lot of ledge on that piece, it would not be good for a cemetery because you have to dig all of that out. But I don't know. I mean, we could.
Fair is fair.
Yeah.
A level parcel with no ledge in it is ideal for not only cemeteries,
Right.
but for building houses at the same
Right,
time. So,
right.
I mean, that's,
Right.
but yeah, it's, at this point in time, I guess you could do anything you want with it and gift it to whoever, but it'd still be town-owned property.
Right, but then Hudson Ave becomes available, which currently isn't.
Right. That's an idea.
We can look into it, but I'm not sure what the topography of the site is, or.
Yeah, we
Anything?
can turn that layer on. It's a little wavy up there. I mean, I don't
Or
know.
access.
It's a new thought and wrinkle to it all. I mean, at the end of the day, you need to ask town meeting to remove it from the care and custody of the library trustees, the cemetery trustees.
Right,
Yeah, that's a town meeting decision anyways.
Yeah.
right, right.
And we can always ask, you can always ask
And
that
I could
question.
tell you right there along the Mass Pike, right where that edge is, I go by it quite often. There's a lot of ledge right along that route. Just want to point that out.
And we
Yeah.
found that out the hard way.
It's
Yes,
too soon.
So what I'm hearing, let me just, and you guys can give me direction or not, just the one outlined in green with, we'll take any bid, lease or sale, tell us your best proposal. Is that what I'm hearing, or is it something different?
again, it would have to be approved at town meeting.
Yep, yeah, it's gotta go to town meeting. I just wanna get ahead of it. Because again, we're still trying to solve a problem. At the end of the day, we just don't want another cell tower closer to Greeny Drive. But if it's not a cell tower that gets proposed there and one individual wants to buy it, and it's the best bid and they can close and do everything we want them to do, then,
Or if it's a cell tower, that's okay.
yeah, either one.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So the owner could then lease the land to a cell tower?
Yes, if someone bought it. But we would, I mean, the numbers are such, we know what we're in a really good advantage because we know what someone was willing to pay before. And, if someone came back with 25 grand, we'd probably say no. I would probably recommend to you, no, do not sell this piece of land.
Right. This,
Just wait.
if by doing the RFP, we're not committing to anything.
Right.
We're just putting it
Or
out.
I could do nothing. It's less work for me if you say don't do it.
You say that now.
I mean, Victor's not happy about that, but
Yeah.
Well, any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion, or do you want a motion, or do you want?
just tell me you agree with what I said, and we'll move forward with an open RFP for procurement for just the green parcel that's shown on the screen.
I agree with that.
I would agree with that.
Okay. So,
Then that's what we'll do.
Do you want a motion? Is that?
yeah, I mean, sure.
Madam Chair, I motion that we instruct Mr. McInerney to go back out for RFP. Do I have to give the lot number for that, to be precise?
It's 7 Institute Rare.
7 Institute Road rear lot for open RFP purposes for sale, lease, and what was the third option? Just the
Just to be consistent with
Just
current zoning.
well, I can't put that number.
Yeah, I mean, no, you don't have to. Well, I mean,
If I could do that,
It's not going to be easy. It's going to be more technically challenging to write it with a broader scope without the cell tower piece. So we got to figure out some logistics, but I think it can be done.
Okay.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so,
Madam Chair,
yes,
I'd like to reconsider the motion.
okay.
I move that we, repeat what?
Would you like me to repeat my motion?
Put 7 Rear Institute Road up for either open or a lease or a sale with the green lot.
Okay. How is that different than,
If you would just,
okay,
would somebody second it?
I'm going to second that. I'm curious.
okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would prefer that we do green and blue, but I will go along with the recommendation of the entire board and vote in favor of this, given the circumstances.
I see.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. Next, we have a resignation.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
I move that the board accept the resignation of Katie Brown from the Grafton Cultural Council and that the chair to send a letter of appreciation for her service to the town.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, opposed? None. Motion carries. So next, we have new business, Chapter 90 application to cover title searches on Main Street project.
So the Main Street project I'll start from the beginning. We need Chapter 90 funding for two things. We need to make application for the title search that Gould will do. There is a $40,000 estimate for the title search. Title search is one step in a two-step process because we have to make sure the titles are correct and the owners are the owners before we actually do the appraisals. So this project, for the newer members, is an $8 million project from the Sutton line to 122 Providence Road. That whole 7-mile corridor is going to be rehabbed, sidewalks both sides, bike lanes both sides where they can fit. They're at 75% design. It's slated for a 2021 build, but going out to bid in 2020. I said it was 8 million. We are at 75% design. At this point, we have all of the, there are 258 individual parcels, but 133 landowners did need to be contacted and negotiated with after we do the appraisal, but we'll stay with the title search first. Title search needs to be done before we do the appraisal, and that's the second part of the agenda. But the reason why you're doing this is because it's a federally funded TIP project for this project. We've never had a TIP project in Grafton before, so we're proud of it. It's just taking a long time getting there. We've always known it was a 2020, 2021 project, but it's approaching, and we need to do these steps first. We've always known we're gonna use Chapter 90 for the title and the appraisal portion, and any of the taking costs associated with that appraisal for those 133 easements, if you will, will be paid with Chapter 90 as well. So we have two applications that have to be done first. This one for the title for Gould, which is an estimate of 40,000, and then we'll get on to the appraisal piece. So that's what we're making the request for Chapter 90 funds for.
Questions, Mr. Carlson?
I have a question. Tim, so why wouldn't the TIP funding cover the costs of this expense? And then why put the burden on the town?
Well, because I don't have the funding, because it's a 2021 funding, you have to do all these prerequisites, if you will, before you get their funding. So you have to go through this taking process, titles and appraisals, and the physical takings, which we voted on at town meeting, before they can go out to bid, because we want to make sure all those things are in place ahead of time.
So I understand we have to do title search and the appraisals on that for any of the land taking or for the right of way. But what I'm saying is, does this get reimbursed to the town?
No, Chapter 90 pays for the cost. This is not part of a reimbursable part of the project.
But this comes out of our available Chapter 90 funds.
That's correct.
We also had to pay for engineering.
The engineering you've been doing to date too has been paid for
Okay.
out of Chapter 90.
I mean, we'll get a big benefit, but we do have to put a lot of money up front.
It's really, you think of it as meeting your match requirement at the end of the day for the $8 million. The design and engineering is on us, and so is the taking process is on the town under the TIP guidelines.
Okay.
I wish it was different.
I figured I'd just ask the question.
No, it's a good
200,000 is
one.
a lot to take out of our limited Chapter 90 funds. And I just want to make sure that the public understands like why and where that's going, and we're not just blindly approving, a $200,000 expense. That's a lot of money.
It is
That
a
buys a
lot.
DPW truck for
Yeah.
lack of better words. So, when May comes around, people asking where that went, I want to be able to well, here's why I made an informed decision and didn't
Yeah.
just blindly do
No,
it.
it's fine.
Yeah, that's great.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I move the board vote to authorize the chair to sign the state aid reimbursable programs project request for Chapter 90 funds in the amount of $200,000 to perform appraisals for easements associated with the Main Street TIP project.
I have,
Oh, wow, I
it's
think it's
the,
a
Yeah,
good one.
I think
There's
it's
two,
40,000.
there's one for 40, that's
Yeah.
the Gould
That's-
Title Company one. So maybe we did.
I apologize, Madam Chair. I please
That's okay.
remove my original motion, and I now move the board vote to authorize the chair to sign the state aid reimbursable programs project request for Chapter 90 funds in the amount of $40,000 to perform title searches and easements associated with the Main Street TIP project.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have the application to cover the appraisals on the Main Street
I'm ready.
project. Yes, go for it.
I move the board vote to authorize the chair to sign the state aid reimbursable programs project request for Chapter 90 funds in the amount of $200,000 to perform appraisals and easements associated with the Main Street TIP project.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, motion carries. Thanks, guys.
I think I missed, I think I said something about 7 miles. It's 2.1. I don't know why I got 7. So I apologize if I did say 7. It's a 2.1 mile project, not 7.
For a minute there, you made everyone really happy, all the way down at the Northbridge side of that.
Yeah.
And now you've just disappointed them.
I don't know where I got 7 from. I apologize for that.
All right, next on the agenda, we have 27 Upton Street to sign a contract with Parker Environmental Corporation, and I noticed,
Yeah, Scott's
Mr.
here, but
Scott
can I just
Parker.
update you on 2 things? With this, making the request for Main Street will cover the appraisal. We went out to bid, we got 3 appraisals back. They range from 260 to 178. So obviously, the 178 one, the nuance to this is you have to do an appraisal, and I know I've covered this before, so I apologize. You do an appraisal, and then someone else, either a same firm or a different firm, has to evaluate the appraisals that the appraisal company did. So, once this gets approved by the state for Chapter 90 for this 200, we'll come back to you with the contract for AM appraisals, I think it's for 178, and you'll approve that contract using these funds. So there's a two-step for this as well. Because obviously I can't sign a contract without an appropriation, so want to get this in hand first, and then you'll sign the contract for the actual work for the appraisal.
Just so I understand that, Tim, I apologize. Madam Chair.
No, that's
The
fine.
178,000 will come out of the 200,000 we just voted on,
Correct.
not in addition to.
Not in addition to.
Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Sorry, thank you.
No, that's
I
fine.
just didn't want to surprise you in 2 weeks with the $178,000 contract, because you will have one. So Scott, you want to
Mr.
come up and talk
Parker.
to us?
So, thanks for coming.
Yep.
So, this is Scott Parker, who, we have 3 new board members, so I didn't
Okay.
know if you could take a couple of minutes.
Sure.
I don't know if Doreen and Peter have had the opportunity to talk with you yet, but if you could take just a few minutes and remind us all of what services you currently provide to the town and what this
Okay.
contract specifically is.
So I am a licensed site professional, overseeing environmental cleanups for Parker Environmental. And I've been working with the town now for, I don't know, maybe.
Before I got in, so
Yeah,
it's
so-
15, 16 years.
Yes, it's been quite a while, and primarily starting with the issue at the Follette Street well. That was out of compliance at the time, and is just sort of in a holding pattern right now. We're doing some limited groundwater monitoring there, sampling the water that goes into the distribution system. The water district handles what comes out of the treatment system and into the distribution, into the actual distribution line. So that's one of the things I've done for the town, and then several other projects over the years.
The gas tank's out of the ground, diesel fuel tank's out of the ground.
Yep. Oh yeah. All the tanks that were pulled at the schools, this building over the years. DPW yard just did some small job there. We also had a problem there. What was that, 3 or 4 years ago, when the tank failed the tightness test? Maybe 5 years ago.
When we pulled them above ground?
When you switched to the above ground.
Yeah.
So,
That was
you know.
6 years ago.
Yeah, so been working with the town for quite a while in this capacity.
But the main contract is for Follette, and we have a warrant article every year we
Yep.
put money into based on reporting to DEP, sampling that Scott does. So that's been an ongoing thing. It's not our problem to clean up, it's,
Right, it's.
I mean, you can talk about the gradient of the water being,
Yeah, it's a-
pulling the
it's a-
chemical over and how they clean it before it gets in the distribution system, if they wanted to know that.
It's a complicated situation that we have done our best to sort of extricate the town's responsibilities, but the fact of the matter is the town owns the property that contamination is on, and the well that is pumping that's the Grafton Water District. So we tried to get out of it completely, but the DEP has finally read the reports that we submitted 15 years ago, and issued the property owner his own release tracking number on the south side of the Blackstone River, and this is the former Saundersville Mill property, which is where my opinion is that's where the actual contamination source is, but it's migrated through the groundwater onto portions of the Follette Street, the former Dauphiné plant property. Blackstone, it shows up on a map as like Blackstone Park or something like that. I'm not sure. It's a pretty good sized piece of land where there's a solar farm there now. But the town is still all monitoring and sampling the monitoring wells that are there and submitting status reports. I haven't looked to see if the property owner to the south has done anything. He's had his notice for a year or two now, so I would be surprised if they haven't pushed him on that a little bit. But I haven't looked recently to see what he's done, so.
And so for tonight, the reason why Scott's here is last meeting you signed a contract to look at the reuse and redevelopment of the DPW site on Upton Street. Part of that, what the requirement is for the grant is to do a phase 2. So we've done a phase 1. Scott compiled all the documents. We need to do some borings out there and some test pits and test the soil for any contaminants. So when we go to sell it, we can have as much disclosure as possible and try to get the biggest yield
Right.
for the reuse of that particular site. So that's what this contract with Scott is for, so we can get that done hand in hand with all the visioning things that, like John Allen just mentioned to us earlier, revisioning what that site can look like and should look like from the public's perspective, but we need to know what the soil is.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a DPW yard since,
That's the beginning, so as long as our records have.
yeah, a long time. And the housekeeping practices weren't always what they are today.
Well, there were none then, but there are now.
Right. So there's a handful of potential issues. There's nothing we know about right now that's a problem. But there are some things that, you know, a potential buyer would be reluctant to purchase without some more information.
And the good news is when we did pull the tank out,
Right.
it was underground.
Yeah.
There was nothing there at that site, and that was a pretty good hole.
Yeah,
for that tank.
and then the other
5,000
tanks
tank.
that were out closer to the road, those were all pulled even prior to my involvement, working with the town, and, you know, there were some issues there, I think, with the waste oil tank, probably 25 years ago, but that was cleaned up, and, so right now, we're looking at a couple of things with regard to floor drains, that didn't go to the sanitary sewer like they do now. And so. That is the,
We're on our way.
it's over on the west side of town, down near Sutton.
You know that area quite well.
I've been there, yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Scott? Is there anything else you want to?
No, Scott's our guy to get this work done. We're gonna keep tight pressure on him though to get it turned around quickly. So we're gonna be digging into, hopefully, before the ground really freezes.
Yeah, I mean, the drilling is not an issue, even if the ground is frozen. Those machines can get through. I mean, if we had 4 feet of frost, that might be a problem, but they can get through, you know, a foot of frost without any trouble, so. But yeah, I would expect that, you know, if you want to get it done soon, right now with the holidays, and I know the drillers are very booked out, so we'd probably be drilling sometime early January,
All right, well, we'll get this signed and we'll get moving.
so.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Carlson?
I move the board vote to authorize the chair to sign the contract with Parker Environmental Corporation in the amount of $16,215 for 27 Upton Street.
Second.
Right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion is carried. Thank you
Thank
for all
you.
your work.
Thank you,
Thank
Scott.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, so next on the agenda, sorry, I was signing that. Select board reports. Are there any board members that wish to share something? Mr. Carlson?
Madam Chair, I know that we had the fire department in here at the last meeting. I want to thank the board again for that indulgence on the last minute to add that to the agenda. We thought it was very important that the board hear that report and about some of the concerns that the committee or what the committee is going to be recommending. If I could ask if the committee be okay at the next select board meeting that we take just a formal vote accepting the recommendation on the organizational leadership chart that they recommended, and just to see where the select board is on that, so that way we're not waiting for a formal report that's due sometime in January, maybe towards the end of January, or going into February, not sure, we might need some more time. Just to kind of give the fire study committee, just where the direction is, where the select board, and how it felt about its report the other week.
Okay, so you want us to see if everybody accepts the entire organizational chart?
Right, yeah.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes. Mrs.
Um,
Knopf.
that was the remote
Yes.
meeting that so I missed that portion of the meeting, and I had asked the town administrator just late today whether or not I could get a copy of that recommendation, because I have not seen it.
Okay,
So I'd like to see that. And I did read the full report, but they're coming back to us in January, if I'm not mistaken, for a full recommendation to us. What was the action required?
They're coming back with a formal report based on the charge of the committee, which is to review that report and come up with basically a plan on how to address it. And the committee has already taken action items that it felt deserved to be disclosed sooner rather than later, towards the January timeframe in which they plan to have the report completed. So this is a request from that board and that committee that I wanted to make to the select board. I didn't do it at the last meeting, but I wanted to do it at this one. Give a little bit more time if there was any questions. We do have a meeting scheduled for Monday, the 9th, next week. And I understand that we're meeting on that following Tuesday. Correct?
Yes, yes.
On the 10th,
Yes.
so next week.
No, the week after, right?
We don't have a meeting on the 10th?
Yeah, I mean,
No, we have a
On the
meeting.
10th, okay.
Do we have a workshop or a meeting?
Thought it worked.
Doesn't matter.
Okay,
Well,
yeah, well, it's one and the same. I mean,
okay.
I don't know what we have in the folder for the 10th at this point, but we have some things that need action.
okay. The 9th is when, because we had to cancel our meeting last night due to the weather. The school committee chair has asked if the 9th would work for us to make up that meeting. So I wanted to, as part of select board reports, I wanted to ask that question, if that worked for us, instead of playing text tag with all of you individually.
Appreciate that.
So, well, how do you, it sounds like you have a conflict. So-
Well, there is a conflict, yeah. So I mean, obviously, I'll decide which one I need to be at. I think I've already
Okay.
made up my mind. So, they're having their meeting 7 p.m. But as you could see from the meeting when they disclosed what they said, that was we have the meeting minutes that made that recommendation. I can supply that to
No, I
the
have
board if
that.
they would like.
Yeah.
It's actually at the clerk's office. You can probably get a copy online if it's not on the webpage already. But anyway, I'll find a copy that was voted on and submit to the board so you can see that they did agree on this.
But is it okay if I respond to the board of, to the chair of the school committee that the 9th works for us? Or should I
Absolutely.
try to pick a different day?
No, I don't let that hold up anything.
Yeah, so I have a conflict on the 9th too, that I had told Jen about, so I don't want the meeting to be held up just because of me, but if we do have a conflict of 2 board members, if maybe there's a second date that would work for everybody, we could talk about that too. If not, I say the sooner the better, if the 9th works for everybody, and Peter, you plan on attending?
Could the 10th work?
No, I am out of town for work for the week, next week. So I will do my best to call in if I can, but I haven't determined that yet.
So,
So you're up all next week. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
no, I mean, I could ask the school committee if the 16th worked. That would be, sounds like that's not, sounds like that's not good for Mr. Carlson.
If I miss my daughter's concert, it will.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
holiday.
All of
It's
you can
it's a
attest to
hard
that.
time of year.
It's a very hard
Yeah.
time of year, very hard time of
I
year.
do have availability on the 18th. I don't know what everyone else is at.
I do too, but if that's too late or not good for school committee members, the week
I
of the
can do
9th
it.
is fine.
I can do the 18th.
About a Saturday morning.
I'm
Which
up for
Saturday?
I could do that too.
Just depends on
Like
the
a 9 a.m. thing, it just,
I'm on a flight this Saturday, so I can't do it. But I could do it the 14th.
I could do anything the week of the 16th.
I could
Okay.
make Saturday the 14th work too, if that's.
All right, so why don't I say ask about the 14th and the 18th? And if they don't work, say the 9th.
The 14th does not work for me.
Oh.
I will not be back until the
Oh,
afternoon
okay.
of the 14th.
So why don't I say the 18th?
Okay.
And if it does not work for them, we'll go to the date that works for the most people, being the 9th.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Why not the 10th?
The-
Are you available on the 10th?
Why not?
Well, yeah,
the
we
10th?
have a select board meeting on the 10th.
Yes.
But do we have a meeting or a workshop? I have it down as a workshop.
I do too.
Yeah, well,
yeah, it is a workshop, but it's,
I use the words.
you won't have 3, like, we try to set up the calendar where you would have workshops in the second week. But as things come up and we want to accommodate the public's requests for things, or even just to get things done, you take things that are broader than just topics to discuss on the 10th. But again, I don't know what's in the packet for the 10th. Do you know of anything?
It's not, there's not much.
There's not a lot?
No.
So maybe the 10th would work.
CIPC's coming in on the 10th. I don't know if that matters.
Is that confirmed?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I could ask about the 10th. We'll still have the same conflict as the 9th.
With me.
Yeah,
And the 14th.
and the 14th. So I feel like I asked her about the 10th. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my communication from.
Well, they meet on Tuesdays, right?
They do meet on Tuesdays.
Usually it's the second and
Yes.
fourth Tuesdays.
Okay, I think they would just said they'd rather do the 9th than the 10th. So,
TBD.
okay.
So, Madam Chair, your request is to have on our 10th
Yes.
a vote on the recommendation from the Fire Safety Commission
Correct.
last week.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So I will get back with
Madam
Laura.
Chair.
Yes.
Are we certain that this is the recommendation that they're also going to make in January? So they're not differing in their opinion in terms of what they've asked for now and what they're asking for?
That's a great question. So we've already decided on these things earlier on that we wanted to make sure that we get, up to the chain of command sooner rather than later. So this vote was taken weeks ago. And it was just made apparent at the last meeting that they wanted us to adopt their recommendation, whether agree or disagree, I'm sorry, and go forward from there. I mean, there are some implications to that plan. I'm not going to lie to you. There's some financial concerns that I think we as a board need to discuss if we approve it. But if we approve the plan, we do what we can do within the resources that we have. But it's just adopting their recommendation and agreeing to it, or for that matter, disagreeing, whatever we want to vote. So I can get that information to you. Sooner rather than later this week, I can forward it to the board. And then on the meeting on the 9th, obviously, if we have a conflict on the 9th, we can, I don't know if you can have them back here on the 10th or if that makes sense.
They can come on the 10th, yeah. That's fine. Right? And we're not all that full, so.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Through you. So one of the recommendations was to talk about different incentives, and we don't have information from town administrator on what we can offer in terms of.
Well, the health insurance thing, there's a couple caveats that if you want me to talk about that. It's 45 members, yeah?
I can help you out here real quick. The committee is not looking for that recommendation. They only want us to approve the chain of command and the organizational structure with personnel from the top with the chief, full-time inspector, fire safety officer, and then an on-call, assistant chief or associate chief at that point. That's what they want us to do. That was the reason why they came, but they discussed some of the other things that they had, looked at as far as incentive programs.
Retaining and incentivizing people to
But
come.
that's not.
But we've done some of that analysis.
That wasn't the urgency.
True.
The urgency was about those positions that were mentioned in the report.
So, Madam Chair, I guess through you to the administrator, if we were to adopt the recommendations for a full-time professional chief, full-time inspector, rank of captain, a full-time fire prevention and training officer at the rank of a captain and a deputy chief in an on-call position, do we know what budget impact that has? And is this part of the recommendation that you have as coming from the fire department for next year's budget? Or not?
The only thing I'm carrying definitely in the operating budget for the fire department is a full-time chief for fiscal '21.
which is different from what we have right now.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I will tell you that I will be making application for a SAFER grant, which is a federal funded grant that I talked about at the last meeting. Charlton is the only community recently in 2017 that received that grant, so we're making application for that now. I was going to report on that. The other piece, because of the urgency and not knowing there's some retirements that are coming up for the deputy chiefs in the system, I want to start that process of requesting applicants so we can go through an assessment center to hire a full-time chief that's qualified. So those things are, I took that away from the last meeting as something of two urgent pieces. Try to find funding for it and do some analysis, because we have a call department and we budget based on historic trends, but there is, some cushion in there because we just don't know how many people respond to each call. So there could be money in the operating budget that could be used to offset those costs of full-time personnel. So we just got to be careful, because I don't want to not have enough to pay those volunteers. So I need to figure out what that balance and sweet spot is.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
through you to the administrator, will you be able to have that analysis for us next week in order for us to vote on this? I'd rather have all the information before I make a vote. That's what I'm trying to get at. I want to make certain that we are looking at this in a greater landscape than.
No,
what we have
all the
currently.
recommendations they're recommending to you, as Peter said, there's not enough money currently to do all those things. It just cannot be done.
So I guess I'm sorry if I can jump in. So I think what they're requesting, and I may be wrong, so Peter can clarify, is just adopting that organizational chart. We may not be able to totally fund that organizational chart from day one, but the idea is that we work towards funding that organizational chart eventually.
That is correct. The committee's charge did not include an analysis of where the town's finances were to fund those positions. That'll fall on the town administrator and ultimately on us at some point. So they made those recommendations based on the report and study that came out last year, with that lens of, we're not looking at this from a financial perspective, but we believe that this is the order of what we need today in that structure for the department. Because you do have 2 deputy chiefs that will be aging out of our department at the end of December and then sometime this spring.
Yeah, they're very close within the
They're
next
very
6
close.
months.
Okay. Any other discussion? Were you finished with your?
I am.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got a little lost track of where we were, but, any other select board reports? Town administrator report.
All right, I just have a couple things. Route 30, obviously with the snow and that project, we have delayed that project. It'll start again tomorrow. We are coordinating with the businesses. We had some road closures and detours that weren't perfectly mapped out, but we've been working with the property owners, and the businesses along Route 30 to ensure that, people can get there, especially at this busy time of the season in terms of shopping for specialty items. So that's ongoing, and that work will resume tomorrow. Budget presentations for 2021 started this week, so I've been meeting with department heads relative to their request. I think today we had to cancel one because of the storm, so we'll resume those tomorrow. We will do interviews for top 2 proposals for the super park design on the 11th. The Recreation Commission's reviewing the 2 top finalists as well. We'll interview 2 on the 11th, like I said, and then the rec commissions are invited to attend. And then hopefully by the 17th of December, or the first meeting in January, we'll have a contract for the board to sign for the design architect engineering firm for a landscape architect to give us preliminary site design as it'll fit on that particular site to a grade where we can actually get bid specs design from that. Because we've been working with a manufacturer that have kind of anecdotally laid things out for us of what we want for Super Park, but this is taking that design to the next the next level. So that'll come back before you the 17th or first week in January. Some people may know this, some may not, but Joe Layden will depart us in January for another position, so we are collecting applications for town planner, community development director. Grafton celebrates the holidays, it's coming up, you announced it, but we will have a table at One Grafton Common to listen to people about ideas for the reuse of the DPW site. We've had 2 meetings here talking about it, and we've been talking a lot with staff on what the next phase of that site is once DPW moves to its new home. So we will be there with some reader boards and some ideas and taking surveys and listening to people during the event for Grafton Celebrates the Holidays. We'll be right in the hallway of the main door of One Grafton Common. So it'll be easy for us to talk to people and they can give us feedback. Probably should have started with this relative to the SAFER grant. We are going to make application for that. Charlton received 1.7 million in 2017. They did hire 5 full-time firefighters. So we are contracting with MRI, who did the study, and I figure that's a good spend for us because they have the data and they've been successful in making the application before, whereas we have no really full-time administrative staff in the fire department to make that application. It was probably a good idea to hire a professional firm to do that for us. And then 3 other things, the cable licensing for Charter is underway. We will have a negotiation session with them in January. And the streetlight conversion, we are well on our way to get that done. And we have conference calls weekly. We have to purchase the lights, and then we will have a vendor install. All that work needs to be done before August. We do have an appropriation at town meeting that we wanted to give back to the general fund for whatever purposes we thought was appropriate. National Grid had a number of 600 lights that we've been paying for, but when we inventoried the lights, we had over 100 more, so the costs are going to be more. I don't have a total round number budget yet because some of these are still estimates, but it will cause us, and it's going to be really the board's decision to go into that article more than we wanted to. Because when we presented the article, we said, hey, we're making an application for a grant. If we get the grant, we won't use the article. But now my numbers are so much higher than what the grant was for, we might have to use the article. But you will make that decision if you're really going to spend that or if you think we should take a different direction to change out those lights to LED. There are 55 we need to buy that are S1, which is a rating for our utility pole from National Grid. There are 55 of those we have to buy. Those are going to cost us $47,000 to purchase from National Grid. There was a program maybe 2 years ago where you could purchase them for $1. That does not exist anymore. So we will still fight that fight to see if we can do that, but you should know 2 things. One is it's moving forward. 2, we may have to use the warrant article to complete the project. But we are doing final analysis on return on investment because our original return on investment with the light quantity we had at the beginning was 2.5 years or 3 years based on the return on investment. But now that there's more lights involved, we have to redo that analysis and the cost to buy the lights from National Grid.
Is there, is there a way, in our next application for green communities to pay for some of it? I know we have to buy it now, but is it?
We may be able to amend.
No.
Because it's 250 was the competitive round. If someone didn't use it all or whatever, something
Okay.
might have happened, we can ask. I wouldn't make any promises to get more than the 178 that we got.
But every year we make application.
Yeah, for the competitive round.
Okay.
But
for
we're gonna
other
be handicapped
projects.
making that application if we
Okay.
don't complete this whole
Okay, I see.
grant request.
The project has to be complete before you can apply for a new grant.
Oh, okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question. Tim, on the cable license, which license are we renewing? Charter, for Charter? And who's negotiating that license?
It's me, Bob, it's Bob DeToma, myself, Bob Berger. We have, who's the attorney, Bill August, and the chair of the board is the structure that the board set when we did the Verizon license.
Usually we have a selectman's rep or a selectman's representative on
It's the
that
chair.
committee. Oh, you're gonna be on that. I'm sorry. You didn't say which chair. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
the chair of cable oversight.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, now that I know that. All right.
Madam Chair, through you to the administrator. Does the lighting include lights for the school department as well?
All the lights in the school department are LED on the inside and
Okay.
outside, so those have already been converted. This building's been converted. There was a combination for all buildings to be green communities and/or general funds for the school department in most of their buildings. But these are actually street lights that'll hopefully be brighter and have controls with them too.
So the football lights are LED.
No, those lights are not LED. I was talking
What I
about the
wondered.
interior.
Those
but
were
are not.
repurposed, if you recall, when they originally put them up, and when they built, they took them down and repurposed the lights. So those are over 10 years old.
Those can be converted, but not under this project. So I think this is specifically for
Down.
LED streetlights, but that would be a good future project for a green community.
They should do that anyways for those. They're just,
Yeah.
when they're on, they just consume so much electricity. And I'm sure they're metered. The street lights on the poles are not metered, so there's a fixed tariff that we get charged, whether they're lit or not. Because they're not metered.
Madam Chair, I just have a couple of questions. Tim, the SAFER grant that that MRI is going to be working on the contract, what's the timeline? Do you think that will be completed?
The application, I can check an email. I think the application's due, if it started in December, I think it's an April, May timeframe.
Okay.
For application, and you're probably not gonna know until October.
Okay,
But I'll have to confirm that that's really
all right.
that's
I
a
just- yeah.
timeline I recollect.
So probably October 2020, or around fall 2020 we'll
Yeah.
hear. Okay. And then, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head too, but do you know approximately annually what we spend on streetlights right now?
Yeah, I think it's 75 grand.
70,000, roughly.
Okay. So that number should drop. You said the ROI within 2 years, let's say 3 years, will
Yeah, I
drop
think it was-
about
I think it's longer than that.
Was it 3.1?
I think it's over 3 years.
over 3 years.
Yeah.
But it'll drop 70% of the annual budget with the LED conversion.
Oh, the savings.
Yes,
That we'll see a
yes.
70%.
Yeah, the budget will drop. I don't know if it'll be by 70.
In the first year,
No, within 3 years.
within 3 years,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That's just why I wanted to know that number.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are, and not to bring the poison to the top of the pond, but, they're not metered or on a tariff. I thought I had a number of lights. It appears I have more lights. So for a long time, we've been paying for less lights, or for fewer lights.
Right.
So how that's gonna shake out.
So now they're gonna charge us for them.
Yeah, well, they'll charge me less going forward. Do you have any other questions on that list?
Nope.
All right, the final thing I have is Joe Layden did this to me yesterday. I wanted to be dramatic emphasis, but I don't have the keys. Oh, yes, I do. You're the proud owners of 8 Pine Street. We did a tour of the site last week. Becca and I didn't go, but a lot of staff went. The RFP document to sell 8 Pine had to be reviewed by DCAM, local historic, and then Mass Historic, so that, before that can go out on the street for sale. So it's with DCAM now. They've had 10 days to review it. We should get that by the end of the week. And we hope by the 18th to have an ad in the Central Register notifying people that the land is available for sale, with all the very thick appendices that go along with that. But that's good news for us,
Yeah,
because
it's
that's,
great news.
if it can be developed the way we envision it from a transit village standpoint, it pretty much, deals with the affordable housing 10% issue, and it diversifies that area of Route 30 Pine Street, and is a cornerstone for the transit mixed-use village component that we've been, studying and wanting to see happen around the train station for a long time. So this was the first step along the way. So thank you to the state of Massachusetts.
Great.
That's all I have.
Anyone else? All right, so now we'll move on to, there's no correspondence tonight, correct? Correspondence, just,
Besides,
right.
gives us earlier.
he read it into the record, so I think
Not gonna
we're
review
good there.
that. Nope.
Next, meeting minutes, November 12th.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
a motion that the select board accept the meeting minutes for November 12, 2019 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I do have, a correction was pointed out. Line 126
Is that what it's due?
is, line 126, it says that, Mr. McInerney and I had a conversation. It was not with Mr. Gannison, it was with, Mr.
Dunlap.
Dunlap. So if we can get that amended, line 126 on November 12th meeting minutes.
126.
Line 126.
Um,
So we did not have a phone conversation together with the gentleman that was here.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So do you want us to, you'll just make the motion to accept as amended?
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Yep. That was any other comments on on the minutes? All right, do you want to, alter your motion to,
Madam Chair, I motion that the select board accept the meeting minutes November 12, 2019 as amended in line 26.
126?
I'm sorry, 126 to reflect the correction noted.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Can I just call your attention to one thing that we used to do that we're doing again now? We have where the meeting for these meeting minutes can be viewed for people at the bottom.
Oh, okay,
So just an added convenience for folks.
great.
Nice. Thank you.
All right, November 19th.
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
motion that the select board approve and accept the meeting minutes for November 19, 2019 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carried.
Motion
All
to
right.
adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion to adjourn and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you so much. Good night.